Hello everybody, welcome to our first trial run here video newsletter, and I hope this works because I've told y'all many times in the past that I hate typing into a phone to make a newsletter. And if I can start doing, if y'all are like okay with it and we can do video newsletters, then we'll do a newsletter more often. I think it's been a year since our last video. Shame on me. I'm sorry it's been that long, but that's how much I hate typing. So Jen typed, if you're looking at this and you saw the first part of the newsletter, which Jen typed, and now I'm going to do my parts as videos, and we'll see how it works. Y'all give me some feedback later. Y'all like, oh, I did like that, or I didn't like that, just let me know. Okay, let's get down to brass tacks here. I'll just tell you what kind of some things going on here. Most like our trip to the States for Gunner's wedding and all of that. Mom's already told you about that in her written part, so I'll get down to the here part. The main thing going on around here is we have 2 new church plants, and like the church plant in Wampalele, and if you look at my YouTube channel, you saw the baptisms at Wampalele and all of that. Well, these are 2 other villages that have been saying no to the gospel for at least 10 years, maybe a little longer than that. But the first one's down in Nacharima, and the other's in Natula. I'll tell you about Nacharima first. I've had a good relation with the king in Nacharima. His name's Adamu, and he was very friendly to us, and I've been there many times and talking to his people and sharing the gospel, but he's told me adamantly there's not going to be a church here, and that's all of that. So I was there maybe, it's been 6 weeks or maybe even 2 months ago, whatever it was. I can't remember very well, but it's just here in the near past. And I was sitting down talking. He was sitting there with about 20 of his men. And I said, King Adamu, I'm coming back here to start a church. He said, no, you're not. And I said, yeah, I am. By the way, he's also the leader of the mosque there, which is the case in a lot of villages. The king is also the leader of the mosque. Well, it's the same there. Anyway, I said, yeah, I am. He said, no, you're not. I said, yeah. I said, I'm coming back here and I'm going to talk to all your people. And if I can find even 5 that says, yeah, I want a church, and I'm coming back to start a church. He goes, no, you're not. And one of his 20 guys said, well, if you start a church, I want to be part of it. I said, King Adamu, there's 1. I only need 4 more. I said, I'm coming back. He goes, oh, okay. And that's all I needed to hear. So I came back and I went from hut to hut and visited. And I did find a little more than 20. And 2 of the people that said yes, ironically, was his son, who's in his 20s, and his daughter, one of his daughters in their 20s. And they both said, yeah, we'll come. So with the son and the daughter putting pressure with the other people we found, we started a church there. Interestingly enough, his daughter has not come once. And his son is there about every 3rd time. But just the Lord used the pressure from them too to get our church started there. So anyway, we've started the church there. And it's going very, very well. It's a difficult church to take care of, because it's about a 2-hour motorcycle ride or a 2.5-hour car drive through the bush. It's like, when I say through the bush, I mean, Jeep track, twin track, crossing rivers and mountain passes, and just, it's way out in the bush. It's very difficult to get to. And so going there to do a church service is very difficult. But me and Colt have been going there very faithfully, and we're making great progress there. I'll tell you a quick funny story. Here a few weeks ago, we went there to do an outreach. We were going to do an outreach in the morning, and so we decided to go early and spend the night on the other side of the Masalu River because the water had come down enough that I could get across it with a car. It was only about up to the top of the tire at the deepest part. And it was a real rocky area, so the bottom was firm and we'd get the car across. And so we went over there, going to spend the night and then do a church service outreach in the morning. So that night, we got our campfire built and we're all sitting around the fire. Magnum is with us and he's preparing food for us to eat that night. And Andy says, I'm going to go down to the river with my light and catch some crocodiles. And so Remy, Colt, and Warrior said, oh, that sounds like fun. We want to go with you. So they all went down to the river in the dark to catch a crocodile, which they did. They caught one about that long. It was like a juvenile baby. And Then later they let it go. And then they went down and caught another one that was a little bigger. And Andy said, I'm keeping this one. So he stuffed it in his backpack or some kind of duffel bag or something. He had some kind of big container to put it in. And apparently reptiles are pretty durable because he brought that thing back to Balama. It rode in the truck with us. I'm glad it didn't get out of the bag. That could have been kind of ugly. But anyway, we brought it back to Balama. So anyway, later that night, Andy, he built the campfire so huge. Couldn't sleep. It was radiating heat out, 30, 40, 50 feet. And it's like it was just too hot to get in the tents and sleep at all. So I told Andy, I said, let's take our lawn chairs here, our camping chairs, and let's just go down, wade out in the river, and just sit in the river and let's have some prayer time, just me and you. So me and Andy went down to the river in the dark there, and it was a very cloudy night. It was dark. We waded out to where when we're sitting in our chairs, the water is like up to our waist, and we're sitting in our chairs in the river. We're just having our prayer meeting. And we prayed for about an hour. And we got through praying, and so I had my headlight on, and I'm just shining around, and over here to my left and behind me, about 20 feet, I saw a couple of eyeballs. It was a crocodile, and Andy said, oh, I'm going to go catch that one too. And I told Andy earlier, I said, Andy, you're catching these small ones. I said, but I'm just the kind of guy that when I see babies, I think there's a mom and dad somewhere. I'm just real practical that way. You see a baby, they don't just pop into existence. They're birthed by something. And so Andy goes, nah, these little ones, they wash down from way upriver. There's no crocs down here. I'm like, okay. So anyway, I'm just sitting there in my chair, and he gets up out of his chair, and he's going to sneak around and come up kind of beside the thing. And so I'm watching Andy over here. I can see him moving with his light. And I look over at the croc there periodically to make sure he's not getting too much closer to me because I'm kind of allergic to crocodile bites. But anyway, so Andy's getting closer and closer, and he's creeping up on the croc. And he gets about maybe 6 feet away from the eyeballs. I'm shining over there. I can see he's about 6 feet away. And then he starts backing up really fast and backtracks back over to our chair. I said, let me guess, those little ones didn't wash down from upriver? He goes, oh no, that one could swallow a cat whole. That was pretty big. I said, okay. Anyway, so we went on back to the campsite, and the fire had burned down enough that we'd get to sleep. Just as a side note, we both, who all got malaria from that trip. We had Bianca and Thunder with us. We had all of my 6 children were with us, me and him. And so out of that trip, all that sitting around in the dark at the river, I got malaria on mine and Jen's anniversary trip. We went to Pemba for our anniversary last August 28th, and we stayed at this really nice place. And as soon as we got there, the malaria flared, and I was miserable the whole time. The family had a good time. It was a really nice hotel, but I was miserable. Anyway, Andy got malaria real bad. He called me a week or so later and said, Brad, get over, I'm almost dead. I went to his house, and he was almost dead. He had a horrible case of malaria. I had to nurse him back to health. And then Bianca got malaria from it, and one of my other children, I can't remember which one, but 3 or 4 of us had malaria from that trip. Anyway, so that church is doing fine. So then there's the church down in Natulu. It's another one that said no for 10 years. And then 6 weeks, 2 months ago, Aria, one of my Mozambican evangelists, said, hey, there's a little handful of guys there in Natulu that want to start a church. I said, Aria, I don't believe you. Those people have said no for 10 years. He goes, no, I'm serious. So I went with him, and sure enough, there's a group of guys down there. And we started a church there, and in the couple of months that we've been there, we baptized about 10 people, I think, give or take, 8 to 10, or 8 to 12, something in that range. But the church is going great after those people saying no, 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 no for a long, long time. So I got these 2 new church plants I'm going to, and it's just God, because both of those places, said no for so long. But the fact of the matter is, if you're a farmer, and even if the ground is bad, if you plant enough seed for enough years, you're going to get a harvest. And that's what we've done here. We have just kept hammering away, planting seeds, and now the harvest is coming up. And we got a really good place to have the church too. The king in Natulu is a guy named Kuluwemu, and he has offered us a piece of land that is right behind his hut. It has a huge mango tree with a lot of shade. There's a big open area where we meet, and it's just a great place to have a church. And so we're really blessed to have that piece of land there that God opened up to us there. And that church is doing great. Well, I'll tell you another little story. Last Saturday, me and Colt were up in Nacharima, working with the church there. One I was just telling you about, not the one in Atulu, but up in the Masala River there in Nacharima. And on the way back, you have to backtrack about 10 kilometers. You come to Manapu, and then if you turn right, you go on back to Blama. If you turn left, you go back to the Masala River, but not to Nacharima. You go to the village Masala, which is also on the Masala River. So Colt says, hey, let's go see if the river is down enough there that we can cross over, and maybe we can go deliver some Bibles to Ndola. Well, we went back and to the village Masala, and we were able to get our motorcycles across. Well, then the question is, because that hasn't been used for a long time, had the bush grown up too much that a car couldn't get to Lusaka? So it's about 11 or 12 kilometers once you cross the river to Lusaka, and then it's about 45 kilometers to Ndola. So I said, you want to just drive on and see if the path is open? He goes, well, we put this much in it, let's go. So we're driving through the bush on our motorcycles with the thought in our mind, we are in a car. Can a car keep moving? Are we approaching anything a car can't get past? Because it's a lot easier with a motorcycle than a car. And we arrived in Lusaka with difficulty, but in a four-wheel drive, which we have, you can get to Lusaka. So I'm like, well, Colt, we're in Lusaka. You want to see how the trail is on to Ndola? He goes, we put this much in it, why backtrack? So off we go. And like I said, it's about 45 kilometers or 20 miles of some pretty bad road with a lot of deep, deep sand. And deep sand on a car is one thing. Deep sand on a motorcycle is something else. And it was brutal. We arrived in Ndola absolutely worn out. And the last time we were there, and we gave out Bibles, has been, golly, it might be 2 years ago. And we sold the Bibles then, and the little Bible card with audio Bible, and it was a riot. I mean, there were so many people. We had to lock ourselves in a bamboo fence and let one person in at a time. They were like almost knocking the fence down, because everybody wanted a Bible. And so after we passed those out, you remember I was going to go back to Ndola, give out Bibles, but the main thing I wanted to do is go to a place called Shamakubo, which is this gold mine, which is 8 hours through the bush further than Ndola, where they found gold up there. And I wanted to go up there and show the Jesus film, because there's people from all over Africa there digging for gold. And I thought, wow, no one is trying to reach those people with the gospel. I wanted to do it. Well, you remember, if you have a good memory, that I got just outside of Ndola, and I'd been fasting because I really wanted to just be close to the Lord for this trip, because I knew it was going to be very dangerous up in Ndola. Because the king at Ndola said, Brad, if you drive up there, those people are going to kill you on the first day and take your motorcycle and all your money, and they're going to leave you for dead. So I had been fasting, and about a quarter of a mile, 400 meters outside of Ndola, I passed out and hit a tree and broke my kneecap, sprained my ankle and my wrist, and had to be rescued by some other missionaries. So then, not too long later, I loaded my truck up with Bibles and tried to go up there again. And the one place that you could cross the Masala River, a logging truck had broke down. And me and Colt, and I think Magnum might have been with us, might have been me and Colt, we tried to pass the logging truck up this steep riverbank of heavy sand, and the truck slid down, crashed into the side of the logging truck, and jammed. Like, they have these big metal things sticking off the side of the bed of the logging truck where they put in these poles that hold the logs in. Well, my truck hit the side, and they poked into the side of the bed of the truck, and my truck was stuck. I couldn't go forwards or backwards. And I had the local guys digging with their hose a big hole on one side of my truck here where my truck would fall in the hole, and then I could back away from the truck. And by the time we freed up my truck, well, that day was gone, and we came back. And so this trip I'm telling you about now, of me and Colt finding out if that trail is open, is we're planning a third time. We're planning on going back with 500 Bibles to Ndola. And so now here we are in Ndola. We find out, yes, the car can cross the river. Yes, the car can get to Lusaka. And now we're in Ndola. So we visit with King João there and tell him we're coming back with 500 Bibles. He's happy about it. Then we went down to the market there in the village, and there was a Tanzanian woman who has a duka, which is the Swahili word for a shop, a little small shop. It's just a bamboo hut. She's selling beans and rice. Me and Colt had some beans and rice, recharged our battery. Now it's time to go home. So we could go back the way we came, which we already knew was of that 20-mile trip, 10 miles of it is miserable deep sand. Or we could go on through Ndola to Nairotu, which is another 60 kilometers, also bad road, and then about 80 kilometers down to Montepuez, also very long. But wait, there's a shortcut. And when I've been, the many times I've done an outreach in Ndola, if you go 5 kilometers down that trail into the bush, there's a little rock hill where you can get 1 bar of phone signal, so I could call home and tell Jen I made it and then check on the kids. So, but the king had always said, if you continue down that trail, it goes to the Masalu River, where there's a crossing, and then there's a shortcut into Montepuez. So I said, hey, Colt, you up for more adventure? It ain't like we already hadn't had a lot of adventure. You want to see if this shortcut really goes where they say? Just go for it. He goes, hey, at this point, I'm good for whatever. We can go to the moon if you want to. So we get down the shortcut. An hour later, we arrive at the Masalu River. And we get there. And there's three Mozambicans on a little Chinese 125, and they get up to the bank, and you can see they've been here before, and they go over the edge, and it's about 30 feet down. It's an extremely high and steep bank. And me, I'm usually, when it comes to a car, motorcycle, crossing, anything that I haven't seen before and I don't know well, I park, I walk it, I plan, I choose my line, I think contingencies, where's the best way to go across this, what if this happens, da-da-da. Me and Colt had been in the saddle so long, I just rode over the edge behind these guys. Halfway down, and you're kind of sliding down because it's steep, and even with the brakes on the motor, you're kind of sliding. It makes a turn to the right, and there's a groove you got to be in. Well, these guys got right there and stopped, so when I slid up behind them, I kind of come off the motorcycle on the left side, which is the downhill side. Well, my feet slip, and I'm holding on to the clutch, and me and the motorcycle tumble down the hill. Well, one of the Mozambicans grabs the rack on the back of my bike because it was about to come over on top of me. But I'm hanging down the hill. I'm holding on the clutch because the motor is running, and I don't want to let off and the back tires start turning because then the bike will get away from that guy and come down on me. So my arm is in a bind because the bike is over me and it's on me, and I'm trying to reach up with my other hand, and because of the way the steering wheel's turned, I can't quite get to the key. I finally get it turned off. I let go of the clutch, and then I tumble down the hill, got a bobo on my elbow. But nothing else bad happened. And then those 3 guys laid their bike down and got my bike down the hill without it falling on me. So everything went well. We crossed the river, and we went through about 10 villages. In each village having to ask, okay, from here, where is the trail that goes to Montepuez? But King João was right. That trail was a shortcut to Montepuez. When we get to Montepuez, it's just getting dark, and me and Colt have now been in the saddle for 12 hours. Our backsides are done, finished, agabo. Our backsides are hurting. We're physically tired, but we got to still ride back to Blum. It's only a 1-hour ride, and it is on paved road. But the problem is getting dark now. Colt left the house with sunglasses on because he has a helmet that is open-faced, and so he was using sunglasses to protect his eyes. I have a helmet that's, full-faced with a shield, so it wasn't a problem for me. So he can't ride with sunglasses on in the dark because he can't see. And he can't take sunglasses off because one of those big African bugs that hit him in the eye in the dark can put your eye out. So we went by a friend's house and borrowed a pair of clear safety glasses. But it was election time in Montepuez. The roads were absolutely full of nutcases in the city. People in cars and motorcycles. We almost got hit so many times. We made it out of the city without getting run over, and then made it back to Balama. And by the time we got to Balama, we'd been riding a motorcycle for 13 hours, and we were so wasted. But we found out that, yes, we can get to Ndola in a car. And so pray for us, because our last 2 trips to try to get Bibles to Andola didn't go well. I had the crash where I broke my leg, and then our car crashed. And so the enemy is like really against us getting those Bibles there. And so when you think about it, just pray that our Bible trip is coming up within a week or two. And just pray that it'll go well, and the Lord will give us the grace to get there and get the Bibles and the Bible audio cards distributed, because we're going to flood that village with those cards. Anyway, also something else, talking about stuff I need you to pray about. A lot of you know who we communicate with regularly, but those that we don't may not know. I've been having some really serious chest pains, and it's been going on for a while. And the other day, I was leaving to go to Pemba, which is about a 4-hour drive. I don't know why I was going. Probably documents or something. I don't remember. But anyway, I was feeling really bad when I left the house. A lot of chest pain. I just felt weak, but I had to go to Pemba. Documents wait for no man, and I had to go do that. And so I'm on the way to Pemba, and then it just really gets crushing. I mean, the chest pain is like an elephant is sitting on my chest. Then it starts radiating down my left arm. And then my left arm just goes numb. And I'm not a doctor. But if you watch enough TV, movies, and read books, and you've been alive 62 years, you've heard that when you have crushing chest pain, if it radiates down your left arm and your left arm goes numb, well, adios, you're heading for the big house. And so I really had a bad attitude, to say the least. I was griping and grousing to the Lord. I said, Lord, really? I said, I got to die in Pemba by myself, hot, sweaty, stinky, nasty Pemba, by myself, without my family. I can't even say goodbye. That really stinks, Lord. I am not a happy camper about that, and I really had a bad attitude. I apologize to the Lord later. So I get to Pemba, and I went to a private clinic, and it's fairly modern to be in Mozambique. I said, look, I want an electrocardiogram. I'd had one a year or so ago, but a couple of doctors I consulted, one's a missionary doctor and one is in the States, they said, the electrocardiogram is fine, but we really need an echocardiogram. So this place could do one. So I said, look, I'm in a lot of chest pain here. I'd like an electrocardiogram, and then I want an echocardiogram and blood work. Well, believe it or not, this clinic had a cardiologist on staff. And he was about 80 years old, and he was from Argentina, and he seemed to me to be of German descent. So I'm thinking to myself, this guy is a Nazi war criminal. He fled Germany. He's hiding out in Argentina, and now he's left Argentina, and he's working here, as a cardiologist. I'm thinking, the great Nazi hunter Elie Wiesel missed this guy. Well, maybe he couldn't be a Nazi war criminal, only be 80. I have to go back and check my math. But anyway, so he's a cardiologist. So he does the EKG, the blood work, and the echocardiogram, and he looks at it and he goes, your hardware looks good to me. He goes, I don't see anything wrong with your heart. I don't know what to tell you. So I'm going, okay, well, I mean, chest pain's chest pain, but if I'm not about to keel over dead, who cares? And so I left it at that. But I'd like to ask y'all to please pray, because this chest pain is wearing me out. It's especially bad at night. And I had some people tell me, well, it's probably acid reflux, because it's really bad when you're laying down. Well, I took omeprazole. I think that and Prilosec is two of the main, it may not be Prilosec, but I was taking omeprazole, which is an acid blocker. It's supposed to stop your stomach from producing acid. And so I took it for 10 days. While taking an antacid, like an antacid by mouth, while I went to bed. And not only did it not help, the problem got worse. I'm thinking, okay, well, if you're taking an oral antacid and you're taking acid blockers and the problem getting worse, then it just isn't acid reflux. So the point is, I don't know. These symptoms are weird. And I just know it's wearing me out. I can't sleep at night. I get sleep in very small snippets here and there, because I'll wake up with thundering chest pain, and I get up and walk around till it stops. Then I go back to bed, and I do that through the night. And I've had bags under my eyes for a long time, but they're getting worse. And I really need a good night's sleep. So I'm just throwing that out there. If y'all think about it, Please pray about that. But more than that, pray for the new church plant in Nacharima and the new church plant in Natulu, that those churches will continue to grow and will make disciples there for Christ. And then also pray for our Bible distribution coming up in Ndola. Like I say, our last 2 trips ended in disaster, and that tells me that the devil is really afraid of me getting 500 Bibles distributed in that village. And I've had like when I had that first crash there, when I broke my leg, a lot of people contacted me and said, "Well, you bonehead, that's God telling you don't go." Or, something bad wouldn't happen. You're going to get yourself killed. Well, they said, you're not very wise to do that. And I'm going, well, the scripture says he that winneth souls is wise. So I'm taking the scripture on this one. And opposition, the Apostle Paul faced more opposition than anybody I know. And he didn't quit and go home and go, well, this must not be the will of God. I'm really suffering here. Well, it's hard here, and I am suffering trying to get these Bibles out. But please, pray that we get the Bibles out, and pray for these 2 new church plants. Hey, I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.